Tonight, just to make sure you're in the correct room, we're here to discuss the proposed Auburn Street from Walsh Ave to Millbury Street project in Auburn, Mass. It's a roadway rehabilitation project, and it's absolutely beautiful, if I do say so myself. The boards in the back of the room describe the project. Hopefully, I think most of you have been checking them out before we started. And just to take care of some bookkeeping stuff, this meeting this evening was advertised in the Auburn News on June 15th and June 22nd, and in the Telegram and Gazette on June 13th and June 20th as well. Just unofficially, how did you folks hear about the meeting? Telegram? Telegram, everybody? Yeah, good. All right, so that works. Direct contact with the town, excellent.
Social media. The town's social media.
Oh, social media, good. Okay, so we're trying to figure out the best way to do this. I think our sign-in sheet has some questions about that sort of thing, yeah. Because the ads sometimes aren't very effective, and they're very expensive. And perhaps social media are working through changeable message signs with the local communities or what have you. Regardless, whatever. So the gentleman, you've got state-of-the-art audio-visual happening over there with Rich, but we have our own. Arlington Typing and Mailing's Greg Tarbox is there with the whiskers behind us in the Hawaiian shirt. And he's capturing a verbatim transcript of tonight's proceedings as required by Commonwealth law. This is actually a MassDOT official design public hearing as required by law. The federal government, to spend their dollars on your project, requires us to conduct this and explain. The official purpose of tonight's meeting is to explain the right-of-way process, which will be handled by Shirley Shiver of District 3's right-of-way compliance office. She's working with the town of Auburn to make sure that any required rights and easements and so on that are necessary for the building of the project are done in a compliant way. And she assists all the communities we work with in doing that. And so that's the official purpose. The real reason we like to do these is because no one knows the roadway better than you who use it and live on it and near it. And we'll have the best ideas on how to improve it. I know the town has some very specific and apparently beautiful ideas on how to improve the visuals and pedestrian accommodation and what have you. And that's what we want to hear. I want you to feel comfortable. Sometimes these meetings can be kind of stilted and people don't like to speak in public, and I understand all that. But really, we really benefit. Your project will benefit from your input. It'll help us give you a better project. Your designer is VHB, and Gregory Russell with VHB is doing the design work for you. He's working directly with the town, and this is Jeff Goyne from District 3. He's our utility constructability engineering and projects representative tonight. He's double wearing two hats, representing District 3 tonight. And this gentleman,
Steve Dedarian, landscape architect.
Steve is a VHB employee designing the landscaping, of which there's quite a bit on this job. I think that's all of us. With that, I'll turn it over to Shirley so she can do her right-of-way presentation, and then Greg will take it over and do the presentation of the specifics on the design, and then I'll come back and see what kind of questions and comments you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone. When the Commonwealth, acting through its Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division, indicated it would accept this $3.1 million project for funding, your municipality accepted certain responsibilities. One of those responsibilities is acquiring all of the necessary rights in private and public lands for the design, construction, and implementation of this project. My function is to review and recommend procedures that your municipality will use in acquiring these rights. The procedures must comply with both federal and state regulations. The current design plans that are here on the table indicate that there are 13 permanent easements and 16 temporary easements required. Property owners impacted by this project will be contacted by your municipal officials. They will present the proposed impacts to each property owner and discuss the methods with which they may acquire the needed rights for the project. Frequently, municipalities will appeal for donations to minimize the acquisition costs for your community. However, donations are not required. Property owners are entitled to an appraisal, review appraisal, and just compensation. Right-of-way documents will be provided to each owner to help them understand the acquisition process and how the project affects their property. Affected property owners' rights are protected under Mass General Law, primarily Chapter 79, and because this project is receiving federal funds, property owners' rights are further defined under Title III of the Real Property Acts of 1970 as amended. I will be happy to answer any general questions concerning right-of-way activities during this open forum, and I will be available after the hearing for any other questions you may have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Shirley. So if we could just hold our questions and comments until after we're done with our little piece, and then we'll open it up to the public, and we'll remain here as long as you'd like us to. Greg, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. As Tom mentioned, my name is Greg Russell. I'm a project manager with VHB. We've been hired by the town to design the Auburn Street reconstruction project. So we're just going to quickly go through the design process, where we've gotten to this far, and then we'll get to questions after that. So again, introduction. We have Mass DOT represented, VHB. Project team, the town is the project proponent, so they're responsible for the right-of-way, paying for the design, and then Mass DOT is responsible for the construction and paying for the construction of the project, along with the federal highway. Up here you can see the project area running from Wall Street down past Brotherton Way. It's about approximately half a mile, extending about 500 feet past Brotherton Way. Why do we need this project? So along the project corridor, we have some poor sidewalk continuity, missing wheelchair ramps. Along the entire corridor, we found there's a lack of distinction between the roadway, parking lots, sidewalks, kind of all blend together in a lot of places between the parking lots and the sidewalk. There's really no existing bicycle accommodations throughout the project or throughout the corridor under existing conditions. The pavement conditions have varied from, obviously you need to repair, and then we have failing trench patches and stuff like that along the corridor. And then there was also some safety concerns at this intersection of Route 12 and Auburn Street. A road safety audit was conducted with the police department, fire department, the state at that intersection. And those recommendations have been incorporated into this design. So just a kind of a quick look through some of the existing issues. We got the crosswalk. This is by McDonald's and the high school, or Walsh Ave and the high school. Some failing trench patch. The pavement down heading towards Brotherton Way, heading in the northbound lanes, deteriorating. Pedestrian accommodations. You see this is just I think across from the fire station. Looking south, the misalignment of the sidewalk going through the driveway. Kind of, there's no way to tell which direction you're going if you're blind. We have the crosswalk at Town Pizza. There's no wheelchair ramps. Some other issues. We have the fire station. There's no real distinction between the roadway and the sidewalk, or the roadway and the parking lot. Then on the left, over by the Verizon store, again, no distinction between the sidewalk and the parking lot. There's nothing there to prevent vehicles from driving on the sidewalk if they need to. So, project goals, we're looking to kind of address a lot of these issues. We're looking to upgrade the existing traffic signal equipment at Brotherton Way, adding pedestrian signals at the Southbridge Street intersection. Improve bicycle accommodations by providing bicycle accommodating shoulders, bike lanes on both sides of the roadway. So these are 5-foot shoulders. New concrete sidewalks with ADA compliant crosswalks, ramps. We're going to upgrade the existing drainage system. We're not planning on replacing it, but we're going to replace the existing catch basins with deep sump catch basins to improve stormwater quality where possible. Improve the pavement through a combination of options. We're looking to mill and overlay from Walsh Ave to Southbridge Street, and then do a full depth reconstruction or reclamation from Southbridge Street past Brotherton Way. And then finally, streetscape. We're looking to incorporate a couple of pocket parks, a larger area next to the fire station with landscaping. We're looking to try and break up some of the existing continuous pavement between the roadway, parking lots, sidewalks. So we're trying to provide buffers for pedestrians and for the parking lots. So I'm just going to quickly run down the project. Starting up at Walsh Ave, we have basically 2 lanes and then a center turn lane, which ends with a left turn lane into the high school. At the moment, we're proposing a crosswalk in between Walsh Ave and the high school driveway that would have a rapid flashing beacon at it, which would be actuated with a push button. And then that carries along, that same cross section, the 3 lanes will carry along to the south. When we hit the brook, just before the bridge, we're proposing a small pocket park that would incorporate the existing cupola that's there, provide some landscaping, and this is in the back of the baseball field next to the bridge. We're not proposing any. We're evaluating the bridge. Originally, it was not part of the project, but we're evaluating possible changes to the guardrail and such on the bridge. And then we keep carrying that along. We have a crosswalk at the Town Pizza. And then we get to the intersection with Southbridge Street. Again, we have a small park on the corner, overlooking the tennis courts. We have some streetscape both in front of the post office parking lot and the Verizon parking lot, just to try and again break up the pavement that's out there. And then we have we have the existing rectangular island. I know that the town already cleaned up some of the vegetation on that island. We're going to look to do a little more low landscaping and provide the sidewalk, to have the sidewalk carry through to the opposite side. So right now the sidewalk goes to the island and then goes across to the Verizon store, but there's no connection over to the grass area and the fire station side of the. So we're trying to fix that. There'll be exclusive pedestrian phasing. So again, push the button and cross all areas. And then we're looking into doing some larger landscaping improvements on the parcel next to the fire station. Again, we'll go back. The signal is proposed to have left turn lane on Auburn Street. It'll be left turn lanes on each approach with a through and a right. And then currently we're showing two eastbound through lanes on the left on Southbridge. And then one of the recommendations of the road safety audit was to convert the outside through lane into a right turn only lane. on the westbound Southbridge Street. Because there was a concern with people getting struck when they were taking a left turn onto Auburn Street. We've also had comments saying for operational purposes, it should stay as 2 through lanes, so we'll be looking at that moving forward. Again, carrying down some additional streetscape landscape buffer between the parking lot that's adjacent to the fire station. The 3-lane cross section goes away, so we're down to 2 lanes. And that gets carried down into Brotherton Way, where we do a new traffic signal. Again, with crosswalks on each approach. Left turn lane, as is now going into Brotherton Way, 2 lanes exiting Brotherton. And then this gets carried down, again, approximately 500 feet past Brotherton Way to where we meet the existing roadway. And that's pretty much the extent of the roadway improvements. I'm going to turn it over to Steve, our office, to go over some of the streetscape betterments that we're looking at.
Can you let's just advance? Hi, I'm Steve Dadarian, landscape architect on the project, and as Greg mentioned, we're introducing some pretty significant landscape improvements all along the corridor, including a pocket park adjacent to the ball field. There's the existing historic cupola in that same vicinity, simply taking advantage of that space. And as Greg mentioned also, as you proceed further down Auburn Street, introducing islands by the parking lots, simply to break up what seems like an endless expanse of bituminous in some of these locations. Further down, as you approach South Bridge Street, introducing adjacent to the basketball court and the tennis courts, a small park area. Currently, there's simply a walkway through there, guardrail along the edge. You really can't see down into that area. We'll be going to crash-proof bollards along the edge so that you do have views in. Introducing a small park area with benches, both looking out and towards the tennis courts. Perennials, ornamental grasses, and shrubs woven through that area simply to highlight it. And trees along the sides laid out in such a way that it still preserves views towards the tennis courts. And we're open to ideas as far as type of trees and size of trees, et cetera, on that. The triangular island, as Greg mentioned, basically the landscape in that area is being turned over to a very low maintenance, ornamental grasses, some perennials, a very simple design for that area, befitting kind of a foreground to this gateway with a walk carrying through it. And in front of the fire station along that edge, introducing a screening buffer along the fire station edge, and as a foreground to that, really making better use of the large lawn area that's out there as a park space for the town that will have benches, flagpoles, other side amenities, bike racks. It will also connect to the Goddard Memorial Park area. Indicated also is a gazebo as an architectural element, really to lend an identity to this location, but we're still in conversation on that as well. In front of the Verizon building, we're taking advantage of the road diet that's been carried through this location, retrieving some green space to allow a buffer along that edge as well of very low plantings, low maintenance, and some fairly upright ornamental trees. Okay, and these are 2 cross sections through the park area by the fire station, indicating, the flagpoles, the roadway, the flagpoles, seating areas, the idea of a gazebo or feature with seasonal seating for events throughout the year, the screening along the fire station as well. And in the lower section, you can see another view basically facing directly towards the fire station as far as the park as a foreground and screening as a background. Okay. And, okay, some gazebo ideas. These are the crash-rated bollards. Different ideas as far as street lighting, designed to have banner arms that can be used for, throughout the year. You could actually change out the banners for different seasons, and also some hanging flower pots would be suggested in key locations. All lighting would be LED, high efficiency. As far as tree plantings, just a nice palette of trees. As far as screening, very high durability plants such as upright juniper, arborvitae, in some key locations, blue spruce, which does become a larger tree. And as street tree plantings, pin oaks, green pillar pin oaks, which are very upright for tight locations, red oak and black tupelo. And at the bottom would be the more ornamental trees introduced along the corridor with flowering effect, foliage, fall foliage. The idea being not to create any kind of a monoculture down through the corridor, having a variety of tree species so that nothing is prone to, if a disease strikes, it wipes out a lot of trees. Okay, and as far as shrubs and perennials, again, a fairly simple palette of very high durability plant material. The red twig and yellow twig dogwoods are pretty bulletproof as kind of a background element along plant beds. Inkberry also, salt tolerant and evergreen effect. Ground covered juniper. And at the bottom, a variety of ornamental grasses, which we have found to be very successful in that with New England seasons, with the piling of snow, et cetera, these go dormant in the fall. They can withstand that, and then they come back in the spring. And daylilies at highlight areas along the corridor, we've had great success with those. Okay.
So just to kind of carry along the project schedule, kind of where we've been, where we're going. We submitted the 25% design back in April of 2018, so about a little over a year ago. We are here today having the design public hearing. And then our next step is going to be advancing to final design. So we have the 75% design submission that would be expected to be submitted in the early fall. There'll be a review period with DOT. Then we'll move on to 100% and PS&E design, with the intent of final engineering being completed around this time next year. And then carry on with construction. The project's expected to be advertised at the moment in fall of 2020. No.
December 12th, 2020.
Oh, December 12th, 2020.
That's exactly when it's going to happen.
That's right. And then construction would be expected to start in the spring of 2021. So, moving on. How will traffic be affected? So obviously, construction, there'll be some delays. We're expecting this project to take less than 2 full construction seasons. I'd expect most of this to be accomplished within one construction season, then kind of leaking over into by the spring, early summer of the following season. That can always change depending on when things get started. During working hours, we'd expect lane shifts, lane closures, with some alternating traffic. One benefit that this corridor does have at the moment is it's very wide. So until the curb is set, there should be adequate space to kind of maneuver traffic around and work in the road and maneuver traffic around. We're not proposing any full-time closures or detours at the moment. There could be times when, if they're putting in pipes or whatever, they may have to close or detour for a short period. Fortunately, in this particular location, you have Brotherton Way, which will make that a little easier. Environmental permitting. We're not anticipating any historic disturbance. A notice of intent will be filed with the town's Conservation Commission for work being done in the buffer zone in the riverfront area. And then we have to complete MIPA and NEPA categorical exclusion checklists. Next steps. So, as Tom mentioned, these proceedings are being recorded. So we'll go back, we'll review any comments that we received from this meeting. And where feasible, those will be incorporated into the project. And then we'll be advancing the plans to the 75%, 100%. And again, the funding is available through the state TIP for fiscal year 2021, which starts in October of 2020. Up here we have the contact information for the department, so that concludes this part of the presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to Tom, and I will leave this information up in the event that it is needed.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. Great presentation by Steve and Greg. So now the fun part. So what do you think? Any thoughts, comments? I know this gentleman has some comments, and this lady too. Why don't we start with the lady? If you could just come up to the podium and tell us your name and spell your last name, and this applies to all of us, so that our transcriptionist can...
Oh, I usually add a joke when I spell my last name, but I'll be nice tonight. My name is Kathy Stone, and I'm a town meeting member.
Great.
Newly town meeting member. So this is like my first official thing I've been involved in. And I didn't think I had any questions, but as it turns out, I do.
Okay.
Looking at some very fancy lighting, very attractive. They say LED, you know, economical. Why isn't anybody talking about solar?
Well,
I think it's open enough for solar to work in that area.
solar for the lighting?
Yes.
To power the light? Interesting. We would have to explore that, I suspect. I think, you know, if the town wants to invest in some design research, they could look into maybe.
Just my thought.
Just
an idea, yeah.
Well, just a quick response to that.
Here we go.
So far, in other projects, we have looked into the idea of having solar for streetlights, and any street lighting that has individual panels on it tends to not be as efficient as we'd like it to be. It's as well as those types of lighting, the solar-powered ornamental lighting is usually not covered by federal costs. They don't participate in that. Not yet anyway, I'm sure in the future, but as of right now, so that's something that the town would have to look into and probably pay for. So that's usually why it's not included.
Well, it's going to take a couple of years for this to happen. Maybe they'll come up with something better.
Entirely possible.
My second question, though, has to do with the area in front of Verizon specifically.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The area in front of the Verizon building.
Oh, yes, okay.
Now, they mentioned specifically the fact that there's no delineation between the parking lot and the sidewalk and practically the street.
Yes.
It's very narrow there.
Okay.
If cars park in front of that building, then there's practically no driveway at all that area. How can they possibly put in all that greenery and make it safer? To me, it seems like it's going to narrow it.
I'm going to let your designer respond to that.
So as part of the project, we're doing a road diet, so we are narrowing the roadway cross-section there.
Creating more width.
To create more width not within the parking lot, but all of that landscape buffer, sidewalk, all of that is within the town's right-of-way. So that's kind of how that's...
So you're taking over their parking area, or you're narrowing Auburn Street?
We're narrowing Auburn Street to accommodate some extra space. Because right now, Auburn Street is much wider than it needs to be.
Okay.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dan? You could just tell us your name, spell
Good
your
evening,
last name.
folks. Danny Largis, Precinct 4 Town Meeting Member.
How do you spell that, Dan?
Largesse.
Terrific, thank you.
I voted for this at town meeting. I'm proud to say I think it's a fantastic project. I think it's going to look good in the town of Auburn. I'd like to see some things toned down, some safety things stepped up. I've noticed, I've talked to Bill Coyle, the police chief and the fire chief, the crosswalks in front of the high school going over to McDonald's, about doing a raised cross area, a zone, rather than just a crosswalk with the alternating flashing lights on each side and maybe some grooved pavement. I'm a big safety person. I'll be honest with you, I almost hit a person there one rainy night, and the person walked right in front of me, and at the last second I stopped. I did not see this person. Right. He was all dressed in black, so you know, I got right on the phone with Bill. I said, we need to do something, and we need to do it right. As far as the crosswalk in front of Town Pizza, I think that should be the same thing. The old owners of Town Pizza actually paid for some, you know, crosswalk pedestrian signs that went in the middle of the road in the crosswalk, and somebody ran them over.
Yeah, they often get...
So, you know, again, a raised cross structure there as well. Groove pavement again, the flashing lights. A lot of these people are just, they're texting, they're not paying attention, probably yelling at the kids in the backseat of the car. I'm big on the safety. I think we could up the safety and kind of down maybe some of the shrubs at the corner of Southbridge and Auburn on both sides. And the bollards, what is the speed that those bollards are going to be safe to at, or the crash speed? I watched a segment on Fox News, and they had the whole thing on them, and they said, I think it was like 25 to 30 miles an hour.
They've been, they have versions that are crash tested for up to 50. I know these, you know, there are some that we use in front of, you know, the federal courthouse, you know, that are structurally sound. I think those are the ones that we had talked about the last time.
I guess you can get them to resist just about anything you need.
Right, well, at that intersection, I think, you know, it's big or go home. Just, there's so many car accidents there, and we've seen one of the town fire engines get wiped out on the way here tonight. Okay. The person wasn't paying attention, and God forbid if he hit that thing.
It's a good location for bollards. Yeah.
He would, you know, he would have shot right off into that intersection.
Yeah.
Lighting, I think the lights are going to look fantastic.
They will, yeah.
And there was a comment on the sidewalks are going to be a raised structure, correct? Wrong? They're going to raise the sidewalks up?
There'll be a 6-inch curb.
6-inch reveal, standard sidewalk.
Standard.
So they're not going to be raised up for the extra height for the pedestrian, so a car can't jump the sidewalk?
Oh, they'll be behind a 6-inch curb.
Yeah. So I mean,
vertical curb, granted.
This is a standard sidewalk for most.
And another thing is, how is this going to affect the timeline of all the businesses on Auburn Street? You have three barber shops, the post office, Town Pizza, Fuller's Car Laundry, McDonald's. How is this project going to affect them as far as access?
I think we'll guarantee access to all the businesses during business hours. That's how we run all our projects. There will be some inconvenience. I mean, we're repairing the roadway, we're rebuilding the roadway, so I can't tell you won't notice we're there. But we guarantee access to all the businesses during construction. I think Greg mentioned two-way traffic at all times.
I mean, the intent would be, maintain two-way traffic for as much as possible. There probably will be one-lane alternating traffic at
At
times.
small periods, you know, for an hour or two.
And again, the sidewalks are going to have the stamped concrete and not the crosswalks, correct? The crosswalks are just going to be poured, raised, however we decide it's going
It'll
to.
be pavement like the rest of the roadway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, the raised pavement, I
Well,
think
that's an
would look
idea
good.
we can explore.
I mean, I talked to the fire chief, it wouldn't affect him. I talked to the police chief, it wouldn't affect him.
That's an excellent idea. It's a good traffic calming measure that's used elsewhere. I'm sure your designer can explore, work with DPW to see if it's a reasonable option here, you know?
So, well, that's about. I wish we had
There's some good ideas.
more town meeting members up here who, geez, I think I count two. I hope to see more meetings. One more recommendation is I'd like to do the next meeting a walk meeting. Walk the route, explain, you know, Kathy was asking about the measurements and everything. It looks great on paper, but I'd like to see hands-on what we're talking about, what we're seeing, what we're going to do. We could bang that out in probably an hour. And I don't think, as the town's paying for it, that's too much to ask.
I'm sure your designer would be happy to do that. They're working for you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful evening.
Too. Thank you very much. Now, we have some other public officials or public people here. This gentleman would like to speak next, apparently.
My name is Chuck Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R. I'm 100% in favor of bike lanes because riding a bicycle in this town is dangerous most of the time. I'm curious, the bike lanes are going to reduce the width of Auburn Street, is that correct? Do you know, have you decided on how wide the bike lane is going to be? I've ridden in some towns where the bike lane is a bicycle tire. I've ridden in other towns where you could put an SUV in there.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to what the width is going to
These would be a standard 5 feet along the corridor.
What are your lane widths there, Greg?
11.
11s? Yeah.
be. Okay.
So 11-foot lanes and 5-foot bike path?
That's a comfortable.
Yeah.
You're far enough away from cars at that distance
standard.
where it's comfortable.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about this young lady in the front row here? All right, great.
My name is Elaine Bean, B-E-A-N, and I am concerned on going both from Central Square and from the high school towards Southbridge Street, the left turning lanes. Now, I was just thinking about it. I've gone through Drury Square 3 times today. And if you're sitting there and you're trying to make a left-hand turn, if the fire station is here and you're here, sometimes you can't. The traffic coming in the opposite direction doesn't allow you to turn. Coming the other way, going towards the fire station from Walsh Ave, the right-hand lane says go straight or take a right-hand turn. The left-hand lane says go left, but there's only a flashing arrow there. And sometimes you can't. And that's probably contributing to some of the accidents down there, is you can't make a turn.
So you're going to have exclusive left phase, right?
So right now we have an exclusive left phase in the southbound direction. The northbound left turn is currently permissive, but we can definitely look into providing either a leading or lagging left turn.
Right, so even if if there was just enough time so 2 cars could go, because there usually aren't more than that want to make those left-hand turns.
But if we don't use your microphone, exclusive phase.
Right, just a couple
Short exclusive phase.
just a couple of minutes so we can get a couple of cars through.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you take your life in your hands trying to make that turn or you can't make it.
Yeah, great comment. That's exactly what we're looking for, that kind of inside knowledge that, we might not know about not living here.
Right, because you don't drive through there 3 times a day like I do, right?
I total lifetime travel 3 times. So this is great. And you're reassigning some of the lanes, right, to exclusive right?
That's on Southbridge Street.
Street, okay. Yep.
All right, I'm just talking about Auburn Street, so.
Yeah, right. So that's terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve, so thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. We have 2 audience members who haven't spoken, and one is a town planner, I believe. Do you have any comments, Adam?
Can't hear him.
I'm sorry, Adam. Let me. For you, I'll bring the mic to you.
Sure. Adam Menard. It's M-E-N-A-R-D, the town planner. I really don't have any specific comments. I appreciate the comments that the public has. I think it's going to be great when it's all done, and it's going to add a lot to the town.
Sure. My name is Kwame Tran. I'm with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I'm just here to take in all of your comments and questions about the project, and I'm very excited for it. I'm working with Bill on Complete Streets for the community, so this is a great project to make complete streets in town.
Could you give us your name again?
Kwame Tran, H-O-A-M-Y. Last name is Tran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I picked on everybody now. Yeah, here, Bill. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming this evening, especially the public, and adding their comments. They're very important to us. And I want to thank Mass DOT for coming and VHB for all the hard work to date. We're committed to work with the community, so anybody was not able to attend tonight, and if they do have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to contact my office at DPW. For the stenographers, Bill Coyle, C-O-Y-L-E is the last name. The phone number is 508-832-7814. I think it's a great project for the town. We obviously still have some tweaking to do to the design, and that's why we're here tonight. So we'll be happy to answer any questions, even after the meeting or next week, or anytime someone has a comment going forward. Please feel free to call us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I want to mention that I appreciate your signing in this evening. That sign-in sheet becomes part of the official transcript, the official record of the meeting. And if you want to mail in a comment, the back of the handouts typically has a little comment sheet you can fold up and put a stamp on and mail it in, and we'll make that part of the official transcript as well if we receive it. And we will certainly evaluate all your comments and incorporate what makes sense into the future designs as the design moves forward. VHB is a terrific firm. We work with them constantly. And I'm sure they're going to bring in the project on time and on schedule. And thank you all for coming out tonight. It's a beautiful evening. Thank you. All right. I think we'll call it at 7:45. 7:45. But we'll stay here as long as we have to chat about it. Thank you very much.